Hey everyone, um, this is Tim Fox again, and I'm going to continue with my series on getting started with Python for machine learning. Here, we're going to be talking about installing Anaconda and Git, but this time for Mac and Linux. If you're more of a Microsofty kind of person, then you should go to my previous video about installing Anaconda and Git on Windows. So, installing this on Mac and Linux is going to be similar, but there are going to be some differences, so I wanted to cover that. So, first of all, I covered this in the last video, but the question is why Anaconda, particularly on Mac, where we already have a system Python available, which we can use. The same thing on Linux is also there. Linux uses Python for its own system tasks. And that's all excellent. Python is a very widely used language, and if you are quite already set up with your system Python, then there's no reason why you shouldn't continue using that. However, consider using Anaconda because it is specific for data science. And so it is going to also allow us to be able to download pre-built packages for our platforms. And that's really good for the Windows users out there. But even for us Mac and Linux users, it is nice to have pre-built packages as well. And also, Anaconda will help us in order to separate our environment from our system Python in order to allow us to do our data science work. Now, to do this, we're going to go to anaconda.com/download, and we're going to download for our platform, Mac or Linux in this case. And for my tutorials, be sure you download Python 3, not Python 2. All of my examples are going to be using Python 3, and so we're going to need to work on those. So go ahead and download Python 3. Okay. Now, I'm also going to talk today about installing Git. So why do we need Git? Well, it's a source code control system. It's used by most open source projects out there. And there is a site called GitHub, which is basically a repository to share your code. And so if you are not already on GitHub, I encourage you to sign up. It's going to be a great place for you to share your code with others. And all of my code examples are going to be from GitHub. So you're going to need to get there and sign up for that and download the client, which we're going to cover. So let's go now to our browser, and we're going to go to anaconda.com/download. And in our case, we're going to click on Mac OS if we're an Apple sort of person, and we're going to download that. Now, our options are going to be whether we want to do the graphical installer or the command line installer. So let's do the graphical installer for now. The command line installer is going to be very similar to what Linux people will do, which we'll cover that here. So download here the graphical installer here, which is going to be in the package format. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up here. Okay, so you can see here, it's going to be guided through the steps here, and we're going to continue with that. It's going to install this on my computer, so I can change the install location. Now, whether we are going to install for me only or install in a certain disk location, it's going to depend on what we have here. So we'll go ahead and do this. And we're going to choose a folder that represents where we want it to go. So, and what we can do is we can go to our home directory and choose where we want that to go. Okay. Okay, so now we can go ahead and click on install, and this will take some time because there's quite a bit there. As it says, it's going to take 2.05 GB of space. So I'm going to pause the video here, and then once we're done, we're going to go ahead and continue on with the installation. Okay, so now we've gone ahead and we've done the install. So let's go ahead now, and we will go to our applications folder here. And let's go to our applications, and we'll go to Anaconda Navigator. Now, you can certainly use Anaconda without using the navigator. I'm going to cover the basic usage here. For new users, it's probably good to start with Anaconda Navigator and learn the more command line oriented things later. All right, so here's Anaconda Navigator. You see that we have this. Now, we're going to be doing most of our work here in Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that and illustrate how we can run with Jupyter Notebook. Notice that Jupyter Notebook is going to start a command line session, and then it's going to pop up a browser window in our default browser that's going to start Jupyter. It probably will not ask for a password for you unless you specifically configure that. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to test going new here and do a new Python 3 notebook. And let's just test something very simple. I'll say a equals 1, and then I'll say a. I'll go ahead and hit play on this. I can also hit Shift-Enter, and I see that the result of a is 1. And so we see the result here of my Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so now that covers installing Anaconda. We're going to be talking a lot about Anaconda later. Let's talk about Git. So going back here, let's download Git for Mac. Okay. Now, if you're using a Mac, you may already have Git available for your platform. In fact, if we open up a command line terminal, we can go ahead and look and see if we say Git already. And many of us will already have Git installed. If you install a lot of developer tools, it may already be there. In which case, you're done. You don't have to do anything else. Now, if you don't have that and you want to install, you can go ahead and go to this Git installer that I found. We're going to download that. And this is the official OS X installer for Git on OS X. And we can download and install this. Now, for the Windows users, you'll notice that I also directed them to github.com/desktop. And so this is going to be especially good for interacting with GitHub. And so I can go ahead and click on that, desktop to github.com, and I can download that for my platform, macOS. And that will download. So once we download that, we'll install that. Now, what about the Linux users? Well, Linux users almost certainly have Git already installed. If for some reason you don't, you can go to a command prompt. I'm on a Mac here, but it should be similar here. So then you'll say, depending on your platform, you'll either say sudo yum install Git, or if you're running on Ubuntu or Debian, you're going to say sudo apt-get install Git. And once you run that, then that will run for your platform. Okay, that's it. So at the end of this, whether you're running on Mac or Linux, you should have both Anaconda as well as Git and or GitHub Desktop installed on your system. And that'll be all for now. Thank you.